Hi, I'm Jennifer Janish, owner of Adored Salon and Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions. I'm obsessed with curly hair. I cut it, style it, and extend it, and this podcast is all about my curly girl obsessions that stretch far beyond just curly hair. Hey, it's me, Jennifer, from the Curly Girls Obsessions, which you are listening to right now. Adored Salon, Adored Signature Hand Tied Hair Extensions, Jennifer behind the chair, Jennifer the educator. Take your pick, call me whichever one you want, but that's where you are at right now, is listening to me on the Curly Girls Obsessions. Um, and addressing the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm recording this podcast on the same day as the last podcast. So I have on that same favorite shirt. I'm in another location in my house because I'm trying to figure out the best place to record these as far as lighting goes, as far as the Wi-Fi, the modem, like uploading previous episodes to an app that creates the shorts for YouTube and for social media. They were super pixelated. Was it because where I was in my house, or was it because my screensaver on my phone was totally cracked and I just finally got a new one? Hoping it's all perfect. So today I'm in my husband's office, and I should have addressed this in the last one, but like his favorite icon behind him is the Chicago Bears coach and a couple Chicago Bears players. He loves football, and honestly, Mike Ditka was one of those unapologetic coaches that delivered great results. So maybe I'm in here for a reason, because this episode is going to be a bit of a spicy one. This topic in our industry is always a really hard bridge to cross. And for many stylists, like, we went to hair school, we didn't understand business school, but most of us either own a salon or own a suite, or for that matter, as a hairstylist in a commission salon, you are running your own business behind the chair within a business of the salon, right? Like, as hairstylists, you are a small business owner because you are the driving force to getting those clients into your chair, whether you like it or not, whether you see it that way or not. You are always 100% in sales. It's just the way it goes. So this hard topic that we're going to discuss, it's actually two, and it's knowing your numbers and price increase. So let's back it up a minute here. I have been a stylist for 35 years. If you've listened to my podcasts, you probably already know this because I've talked about it a lot. And I've worked in many different um, situations, right? I've worked as a stylist in a commission salon, multiple salons, probably seven of them. In the beginning of my career, that kind of was the only way. Like, you were either a stylist in a commission salon or you owned a commission salon. And then for 8 years, I worked out of my home. I built a salon within my house and I ran it like a business. It had hours and I had an assistant. It was awesome. So it kind of was like sweet living, but without the sweet overhead. It was just in my house. And then I worked again in another commission salon. And I think I was there for almost 2 years before I opened up my own salon, which is Adored Salon, that I work in now. And that is a commission based salon. So, and I say work in because I, when it comes to the team environment that I've created, I do like my stylists to see me as one of them. They see me work as hard as they do. They know that I'm not going to ask them to do anything that I haven't done myself. And I still really enjoy doing hair behind the chair. It's kind of like one of those things I just don't see myself ever giving up because I find so much joy in it. So um, there's that aspect. And Knowing my numbers. I always thought I knew my numbers. This is like a topic that gets thrown around a lot on social media. You'll see it and they're like, know your numbers, know your numbers. You can never get ahead until you know your numbers, right? And I totally thought that I knew my numbers because my software that I use for scheduling spits out some really amazing reports for me. And I also would get profit and loss statements generated every month by my accountant. That's also another key thing in knowing your numbers is having a good accountant. Regardless if you are a suite owner or a full-fledged large salon owner, you need an accountant. Whether you like it or not, it is an expense that should be set aside for every month because they should be balancing your books for you. If you do it yourself and you're great at it, great. But typically we need the eyes of a professional on it. And in today's world where things are changing constantly, if you don't have an accountant who stays on top of things, you're not going to understand what's best for you in your business and what's available. My accountant is great. I love him. I couldn't live without him. And so let's discuss this whole knowing of your numbers because I would look at a profit and loss statement, because I would look at these reports that my salon scheduling software would produce. I really thought that I knew what was going on in my business. I really felt like I had such a good handle on it, but I kind of was always coming up short. And I was like, okay, well, I know 2 + 2 = 4, but why do I feel like I'm not at 4? How much money am I spending? Where am I spending this money? And no matter what, when I would look at those profit and loss statements, I would see stuff and I would know where it went, but I didn't personally do it myself. And I'm going to say this is important because it is important. You physically need to get into the weeds in order to understand how to make them bloom into flowers. And that means you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and coming face to face with the realities of what you are spending your money on within your salon in order for it to grow. So, um, like I said, I would hear this term and I thought I was great at it. And the first inkling as to when I knew I wasn't great at it was when COVID hit and I was going to have to pay rent when I had no revenue coming in. And to say that I didn't save for a rainy day was an understatement. We when I started the salon, a lot of my friends came and worked there, and I was like, "This is so crazy, this, you know, 50% commission or less scenario. Like, I'm gonna give them up to 60%. If they're working hard, there should be no reason why I can't do this." And, um, when COVID hit, it hit me in the face like a ton of bricks, why you can't do that, right? And I also, was super generous in the fact that I did 1 week's vacation for the first 5 years and then 2 weeks paid vacation after 5 years, and I was like, "This'll be no problem." And after 5 years, when everybody was there and getting 2 weeks paid vacation, I did understand that I was working the last 3 months of the year basically for free to pay this out. Like, it was just it wasn't gonna happen. And, if you don't run a small business and you don't understand small business, you can't understand why this is just the way that it is. Like, um, a salon environment, it is stated like it's the second least profitable business to own, which then you're left there standing there. I'll never forget, I heard this probably 3 years ago, and it's like, shit, and that's what I own. I own a hair salon. Why isn't it profitable? And I believe there's several reasons why salons tend to not be profitable. One, it's because, like I said in the beginning, we're trained in a skill, not in business. Two, Our business is very easy to become very friendly with our clients, really enjoy them, and not want to experience the uncomfortableness when we tell them that we're raising our prices. And we always feel like we have to explain that to them. Maybe that's just me, I don't know, or it's just the environment, right? Mainly dominated by women who make a lot of decisions based on emotion. That's just how we are. We are the caretakers. We are emotional. We think about things way too hard, right? And so a lot of the times that leads us to a bunch of roadblocks. And so from there, after COVID, obviously, I wanted to stay open. So I changed my whole business model. And the majority of my employees after that were gone. And majority were they were gone beforehand because of COVID. They were like either one not coming back, moving to another state, moving into a suite because they didn't want to be in a big salon with all the COVID rules, or whatever, right? Like it just was what it was. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to change the model in which my business existed. And also being a stylist for a long time, I believe that my stylist still needed to be compensated very well for the work that they were doing behind the chair, because it is hard work. It takes a lot out of you to stand behind that chair and do hair day in, day out, deal with clients, touch them, feel all their things, and take in all the things that they tell you, and then try and be like a normal person afterwards. Like, you've talked all day, you want to go home, you don't want to talk. Like, there's so many different things that go on in that environment. And again, because it is a small business, most salons don't offer health insurance. Again, I told you why I couldn't afford to offer paid vacation. And I took a poll because it was like, okay, guys, if you want these things, that's fine. But your commission isn't going to be up here. Your commission is going to be much lower because something has to pay for this. And I'm not working for free either. So that's how we modeled things, right? And so my first after COVID was, we got what is called the Vish scale. This scale measures out our color, and in a result of it measuring out the color and reweighing the color after the service, it cuts down on waste. So the thought process is like, over time, you will order less hair color and you will have less waste, which means obviously it's going to help your profit margin within your salon. And the way I grew up was like, you measured 2 ounces of color, 2 ounces of developer, that was it. And there always was a lot of product left over in the bottle, usually after a touch up. This eliminated it because the first time you mixed it, it measured it out like you mixed it, and then you reweigh the bottle after the service. And then the second time that you go to mix that exact formula, it cuts out the waste and it gives you the exact amount that you need for that client. It's like, it's pretty interesting. And so we literally just used it as a mixing tool to reduce waste to the tune of $200 a month. I think, though, after a year, we figured out that it probably saved us around $700 to $1,000 a year. So the other aspect of that was there was an allotted amount that was removed from the stylist's total for a product cost for the product. And then there was an overage amount that we billed back to the client. It was super scary when we did this. And I didn't know where it was going to go. Didn't really think twice about it. Well, I did think twice about it because there was a lot of resistance. um, the clients kind of were like, what is this charge on my bill for this Vish overage? And we're like, oh, well, the bill allots for this much color. And this is, your hair was thicker and denser and longer. So we needed more. And we pass that cost on to you. Okay, they get used to that, right? And so 2 years later is where I'm at right now. And my goal for 2025 was to become more organized within my business. I was going to understand everything that was going on. In 2024, I'm sure if you've listened, we did the curl tour. We were traveling. We were like across the year, we did something like, I think it was 8 or 9 classes, and the majority we traveled for. I was in and out of the salon so much, I didn't know if I was coming or going, but I also figured out with those classes, like, you better really track your spending because are they profitable? Are they worth it? Is it generating any more income for the extension line or for the salon? Or is it just something fun to do? Right. And let me tell you that the first couple ones were just something fun to do because it takes time for something to pick up traction. And the first couple cost me money. Um, and so with that, and you guys are like, oh my God, you've owned a salon for 12 years. You mean to tell me that you're just now doing this? And it wasn't that it was like, I'm just now doing this. It was more like I decided to take charge and become the businesswoman that I was in the other aspects of the other businesses that I owned and related to the salon. And I probably ran away from it with the salon a little bit more because of the relationships and not wanting to upset the team, upset the clients. Like, it's very stressful when there's a price increase. And I knew that knowing my numbers would result in a price increase because I knew that my 2 plus 2 was not equaling 4, it was equaling 2.5. And I'm like, where is this disconnect? Right. So this Vish scale also offers the ability to move into parts and labor as a hair salon. And again, something that I literally thought about for a year, right? Last year, I said, guys, I don't think I'm going to raise prices this year. I think we're just going to move into parts and labor. And everybody was like, oh, and I was like, oh. And then, like, I realized too, just by moving into parts and labor was also not going to give the stylist like their merit increase, right? If you work in corporate America, you expect a merit increase every year and you understand like how this is going to happen. It's all laid out. Like, you have meetings and you have goals. And if you don't meet your goals and you don't perform, you're not going to get your merit increase. The girls in the salon, they all perform. They work hard and they deserve it. And, quite honestly, with the cost of business going up since COVID, oh, it's like 40% higher to do business as a salon owner and a service provider within the salon atmosphere than it was in 2020 or 2019. Like, the cost has shot up exponentially. And so we decide we're going to make this shift into parts and labor this year because really and truly, as a business owner, this is really the only way that I am going to get under the cost of everything and figure out where the disconnect is. So I had to do a lot of work on the front end, getting my mindset in order, prepping myself, getting ready for this, because we also did a price increase at the same time for the salon. And it had been a long time since we had had a price increase. It was October of 2023, and here we are in 2025. I think it might have even been before October I think October was when we initiated the Vish overage cost, which was enough within itself. And these are small things, right? Like you're like, if a steel company was like, oh yeah, we're charging this much more, like nobody's gonna question them on that one. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, that's the price. Or we could talk about the eggs at the grocery store. Like this, the ongoing joke about the chickens walking around with Louis Vuittons and red bottoms, and because the cost of eggs is so much, but you can't go to Joel and demand to understand why these eggs cost this much. They just cost that much, right? But in the salon atmosphere, it's different. It's different because everybody's your best friend when you're doing their hair. And when there's a price increase, it's like, oh my God, you just cut off my right arm. I can't believe you did this to me. How dare you? How dare you? Not everybody, but it seems like the 1 in 10 surpass the 9 that is okay with it. And that one person just stands out and it becomes upsetting. And it's because of the deep relationships that we have with these people. So we move into parts and labor and we raise our prices. We send out this 3 emails all about these price increases. And the funny thing is, too, with that 1 in 10, we can see the open rates on our emails and we can see everything. Our email open rates for the salon are super high. They're over 60%. And the 60% that are opening these emails, we know have to be our really good clients because we've got over 8,000 contacts within the email list, right? So the people that are actually opening the emails is the 60%. We know a lot can see this, right? And always that 1 in 10 is like, no, I didn't get an email. I have no idea what you're talking about, right? So moving into this parts and labor, again, we can see what exactly are we charging. We can see the exact cost of the color that was used on the client, and it becomes a line item on our point of sale ticket. This is the cost of the parts to do the job, right? Here's our labor, and this is what other products that we had to use in order to get this labor done. I always use this analogy, like you go to a lighting, you're going to have lights installed in your house, right? The electrician comes, gives you the bid for the job. They give you the bid for how many can lights you're going to use, how many openings you're going to use, and then he's like, okay, when you go to the lighting store and you buy the chandeliers, that's extra. They don't say, here's this bid for this lighting. You have 20 can lights and 3 chandeliers. It's $1,000. And then you go to the lighting store and the lights actually cost $999. Like, that's not the way it works. You pay for the electrician's time and the service that they're providing, and then you pay for the parts on top of it. Even in those can lights, if it's 20, like he's itemizing out like the cost of every can light in casing, right? You're paying for that. You know exactly what it is. So that's why in this sense, in the salon world, it made sense to me how we could move into this and it be okay. So now our tickets reflect the labor cost, the parts cost, right? The next thing that we did that was kind of scary was we implemented a 3% convenience fee at our salon. And this is something that actually goes back to that October date with the Vish overage. was we started taking deposits then for every appointment. So, in order to get into the salon and schedule an appointment, you had to leave a 50% deposit for your appointment. The reason we were doing this was because I had several new stylists, and new clients tend to be those clients that might make an appointment and then just decide 5 minutes before that they're not going to show up. Whereas, like, if a client's a dedicated client, been coming to you year after year, they typically show up for their appointments because they know that it's going to take a long time for them to get in and they don't want to disappoint you, right? But we had this other scenario going on. So we also decided we're going to start taking deposits. And we weren't new to deposits because we would take deposits on our extension services all the time. It was 50%, and we needed that money in order to secure out the time that it was going to take to install the extensions and purchase the hair for the extensions. So we understood how deposits worked. And the extension deposits are non-refundable if you don't give us more than a 72-hour notice. And then with the hair appointments, for haircuts and color, they were non-refundable if you did not give us a 24-hour notice or more. So it was, again, a little bit stressful. We didn't know how people were going to react. But at that time, as a business owner, what I realized was when you take deposits for an appointment, it's keeping your business moving fluidly, right? You're not going to have these high highs and lows and drops in income. Creating the deposits is keeping money always fluidly running through the business so that you could use your debit card to pay for color, so you weren't running up like credit card bills. You weren't it just made things easier as a business owner. There was income that I could always count on being there because people were always making appointments. And that's not to say that there wasn't before, it just was definitely more dominant with these deposits moving in. And so we had the deposits from October. And that was, I would recommend that to any business owner who owns a hair salon, because I really feel like it kind of elevated our level of our expectations for our clients and our clients' expectations for us in return. We expected them to come in, we meant business, and this is how it was just going to be. And, contrary to public opinion, we would have clients that would pre-book out a year's worth of appointments in advance. Now, some would say that's job security, right? But what I was starting to feel like as a stylist was it was just like the, the walls were coming crushing in on me because there was no room for new clients and new services to get in there, because every 4 to 6 weeks, I was going to see so and so for her root touch up and her haircut or this or that. And I wanted more curly clients in there. Like, just like, again, using corporate America as the analogy, you want to grow within your field and you want to move up, right? You don't want to stay just being that, like, person at the bottom. You want to do different things. You get bored. It's the same in the hair salon. As much as I love Sally, I get sick of doing the same root touch ups and the same haircuts week after week after week. So, implementing the deposits meant that you weren't able, I mean, in most cases, that clients weren't able to book out a year's worth of hair appointments with you. It was going to give you more flexibility to bring in the newer clients wanting the more upgraded services than just the root touch ups and the haircuts. Now, I'm not slamming the root touch ups and the haircuts. They are like bread and butter income for a hair salon. They are a great client, love them. But this is where the problem just became, right? And I think also at that time too, I was transitioning my nights and I was removing them. I, for 33 years, would work 3 to 4 days a week, anywhere from 8 to 14 hours a day. I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to be at home. So it also was like that, letting go of all those things too. And so I knew that I needed to keep my days. I was only going to be working, 5 hours a day behind the chair. And what clients I wanted in there were top dollar clients that were going to maximize my time. Call me greedy, call me what you want. It just is what it is. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. And that's where I was at that point and still am. I enjoy the curly haircuts. I enjoy hair extensions, and that's what I wanted to do. So I think I kind of got off on a tangent there because we were talking about deposits, but it was about the clients that took out for a year because of the deposits. They weren't going to be doing that anymore. Sorry if you can hear my dogs in the background, but I'm in my house. And so that was the benefit that I saw from that. It created fluid income. It allowed for me to see new guests who wanted services with me because they were struggling to get in before. And it was a win-win in my eyes, right? And it stopped people from canceling on, whoever, right? So we move into the whole parts and labor thing. I now can see exactly what's coming in as far as our color costs, and I can chart that, right? I can just keep it so that I can see everything in black and white. Then we implemented the 3% convenience fee. I think this is where I left off. And this was shown to me. We implemented the price increase, and it was going to be a $5 service charge on every ticket. It was going to help offset credit card fees. That was going to help, we have multiple Keurig coffee makers, we have snacks, we have this. That stuff isn't all for free, right? And it's just, you're like, oh, well, I'm paying X amount for my hair service. Well, actually, 60% of that amount for your hair service is going out the door to pay the stylist and then the taxes of that commission, right? Like, it's the numbers, right? So we were thinking that that would be great. And within that first week, I was doing payroll. Something was going on with my computer and I couldn't download the PDF that I always would. So it just was sitting there in this other, I'm totally at a loss for words. Let's just use the word document, right? And so I'm going through, and we always allowed tips on a credit card. I always had this mindset. I was like, well, I really want the stylist to still be able to make their tips. I don't want them upset with me. Yes, just allow the client to put this on a credit card. And if it wasn't as plain as day and so simple as this, I never would have understood this. I'm scrolling through, going through the payroll, and I get to one of the assistants, and she had a $5 tip. And this report showed me exactly how much was removed for the credit card. From $5 was removed $1.39 for the credit card transaction fee from $5. Now, let me tell you, I never saw this report before, and I always gave the stylist and the assistant the amount that was entered into the report for their tip. So $5 tip, I paid out a $5 tip. And I'm here seeing firsthand in this report that from the $5 tip, $1.39 is removed right off the top as a charge to the credit card company. And then knowing if I pay $5, I'm losing the $1.39 as a convenience to the client. And then I'm also paying 10% in employee taxes. The employer pays 10% taxes in payroll on what they make. So actually, I'm not losing $1.39. I'm losing, what is it? Like $1.89 on $5. So now I'm coming up, let's just say it went from $5 to $3 that the salon is being paid, but the salon is paying out $5. Oh my gosh. All of a sudden, I said to myself, okay, this is why 2 plus 2 does not equal 4. This is why my math 2 plus 2 equals 2.5, because the credit card fees were so much. And I knew how much I paid every month in credit card fees because it's a deduction, right? I got to put it in my accounting. I see it all the time. But to have it be so black and white in such a small, little amount, I went back to the stylist and I was like, you guys, for the first time in 12 years, I'm actually looking at this and seeing it. It had to be so plain as day in front of my eyes. Now, what do we do? And funny thing is, I had gone for a Botox appointment. It was like 3 days before this had happened, and I'm paying that bill, and they're like, "Oh, if you pay on a credit card, you're going to have a 3% fee added to that." And I was like, okay, well, I'm not here with the cash to pay for this. So I guess I'm going to have to pay this 3% fee. And I said to them, like, how do people react to this? They were like, well, people really don't care. They just pay it because everybody charges it. And I'm like, everybody charges this? 12 years in business, I never charged that. So I had a meeting with the stylist and I was like, listen, I'm I'm at this point and I feel like this needs to happen in order to offset this price of these credit card fees. And it needs to be 3%. We need to put our Zelle and Venmo QR codes up on the desk so that people can tip us through that if they would like. And if the client still is like, no, I want to put this tip on the credit card, okay, that's fine. But now that fee went from 3% to 5% because the taxes on that are going to be a lot on my end. I mean, when you do hair extensions, and a hair extension bill can be upwards of $3,500, sometimes the stylists are seeing $600-700 tips that are running through the credit card machine. The fees on that are just a lot. So then we sent out yet another email telling everybody about the fact that this is what we were doing, right? In this time frame, I had taken this class and it was really good. The person who runs it, her Instagram handle is Salon Nerd. And what she does is she teaches you how to really also understand your numbers. So it came at a great time. She made this spreadsheet and she made it look pretty, which really helped. Like, if you're a hairstylist, we all know everything has to have a really great visual. And when a spreadsheet, something we know nothing about typically, actually looks pretty, it makes you want to work on it, makes you want to understand it. And so I dived right in and I started with this spreadsheet, and it really helped open my eyes to the whole knowing of your numbers. It helped me see why all these things just are super important to running a business these days. Um, Having the deposits come into the salon to reserve appointments created great fluidity and cash flowing all the time through the business in order to purchase the products, so that you weren't racking up any credit card debt. Nothing was sitting out there on a credit card because it was able to be paid for ahead of time. Um, Moving into parts and labor, understanding the fact that this is what the labor costs, this is what the parts cost, and that's just our business model from this point moving forward. It's never going to change back. And someone said to me, I don't like all these little nickel and diming thing. Why don't you just build it into the cost. And I said to her, listen, if I build it into the cost, I pay the stylist commission. It's 50-50. If I put it in the cost and your credit card fee is $10, in order for the salon to pay the credit card fee and pay commission, all of a sudden it's $20 because now it has to be doubled if it's bundled into the entire cost of the service, right? Because if it's only $10 added onto it, then the salon is only getting five. It's really not covering the cost. And it takes you back down to that model of 2 + 2 no longer equals 4. It equals 2.5, right? So I'm like, as I know, sometimes it seems like that's icky, but I also would like to see an itemized bill of everything that I'm being charged for, whether it makes you uncomfortable or not, right? You're like, it is nice to see this is what I paid for my haircut. This is what I paid for the Adored Signature full highlights. This is what I paid for the toner. And this is what I'm paying for the credit card fee or the convenience fee of being in this salon, right? We don't call it a credit card fee, but it is based on 3% of your total bill to help offset the credit card and to help pay for all the nice things that are in there because the cost of doing business has gone up. Um, and so, yeah, that's just oh, I guess I'm stumbling over it because I'm shockingly shocked at how this now being able to be laid out in black and white in front of me makes knowing my numbers so much easier. I can run reports and I can see how much the product costs. I can see how much was taken in on the 3 to 5% convenience fee. I can see what the credit card fees are. I can see what the cost of the product is. I know what the Costco bill is for the toilet paper, the paper towels, the goldfish, the chocolates, whatever it is that we're doing in the salon, everything has to equal out and balance in order to make it a sustainable business, right? It it just does. There's, you would not criticize Coca-Cola for their business practices. You just buy the Coca-Cola for the cost that it is. You don't think about all the things that go in to make that can of Coke what it is today. So when it comes to the salon atmosphere, in order to understand your numbers, you really have to break it all down and break it apart. I would highly recommend the Salon Nerd. I just love her little Instagram handle and her class. If you are a suite owner or a salon owner, it's going to help you figure out if you are profitable, if you are priced right, and if you are doing what you're doing as a benefit to you and you're not just spinning your wheels, churning and burning and thinking you should be making more, and really you're not even breaking even, right? Sometimes it just has to be in front of you as plain as day, the $5 tip, the actual going through the spreadsheet and putting in all of your expenses and everything that you've spent money on and understanding what is a write-off, what isn't a write-off, and just getting to the bare bones of it all. Something else that I would like to address too when it comes to pricing and a pricing increase, there is a lot of people out there that'll tell you that you can't increase your prices unless you're 75% booked. And then there's this like whole equation as to being 75% booked. Here's the thing. If you don't raise your prices and you don't stay ahead of the curve of the expense and the increases of the expense, you're still going to find yourself in a negative situation. So even if you're only 75% booked or 50% booked, you're still going to need your raise your prices to cover the fact that your rent's going to go up, to cover the fact that the cost of the color goes up every year. I mean, the distributors don't tell us, they just foot us the bill. And, that's the interesting thing. A little tiny 2-ounce bottle of color costs something like, I feel like it's $9 for that bottle. And then the developer costs like a 32-ounce bottle, and it's probably over $20. And just say you use 2 ounces of it, right? So, I mean, you could do the math on that one, but if you are not constantly raising your prices, you are not keeping up. And then all of a sudden, one day it hits you in the face, and you realize that your increase has to be so much just to keep your doors open, that the clients that you are booked with are just like in shock that you've raised your prices so much, because whenever there's a price increase, there's always shock, let alone if it's $5, $10, but if it's $50, it might be more shocking, because they're just going to be like, excuse me, how did this happen? So it is much better to stay consistent, raise your prices every single year, just like someone would get a merit increase in corporate America. You deserve one too. You probably go to education, you work hard, you stand on your feet. And let me tell you, after 35 years of working as a hairstylist, you do need to save money for those doctor's appointments when you've torn your plantar fasciitis, or your hand stops working because you're using social media so much, or your scissors, or your stitching and extensions. I mean, all the things. You are using your body to perform the service. So you need to take that into mind too. So knowing your numbers, price increases, always a hot topic, always a hot button. I'm going to see what I can do to see if I can get the girl behind Salon Nerd to come on this podcast to talk, because taking her 2-hour class was so eye-opening to me when I was at this stage where I was already going through all of this stuff. I'm sorry if you can hear my crazy ass dogs upstairs barking away. Um, but it really and truly helped to see it on that spreadsheet. If me just saying that just makes you turn your head and you're like, oh my God, I don't even want to think about this, it's probably really the sign that you need to think about this, and you need to implement some form of a strategy to get yourself in a better position and your salon as a whole. Setting your stylist up with this type of success early on only leads to success in their future too. And you are so transparent with your clients, with your pricing. Nothing is left up to the imagination. They know what it's going to cost. They understand, and they know why they're paying X amount of money for their color, their service. It's all broken down. They understand why, they're paying what they're paying, because they understand that rent goes up and food goes up and toilet paper and paper towels. Like, there are all these things that make a salon run well, that you can't just give out of the goodness of your heart as a salon owner or a suite owner. It comes from somewhere. And understanding that as a stylist in a commission salon, you need to know that it's it's not free. Nothing is free. This is why we do what we do. So that was just a little bit into knowing your numbers, and a few tidbits that have helped me understand greatly where the money to the salon is going, and what I'm spending it on, and what is being spent on color. So if you found value in this and you would like to share it with someone, please do. If you found value and you would like to write a review, please do. If you don't already follow me on social media at Jennifer_Johnson_Janish. The salon is Adored Salon, all one word. And the extension line is adored underscore signature underscore hand tied underscore hair. You can find me there. You can find many stylists and lots of things going on. And if you have a topic that you would like me to discuss, please email Jennifer at adoredhairextensions.com. That's definitely going to get to me. I'll see it right away. And I can always use your feedback. So thanks for listening. I will see you next time.